Oh, Tamriel, shooby-doo, fast travel through my heart. I booted up my PC back in 2006. Met a guy named Martin, man, his chin could break bricks. Dedrick gates were open and I saved Kvatch that night. But these days, Todd Howard can't script a game right. I miss the wacky guards yelling, "Stop, you violated the law." And mud crabs with tood like they're flexing their claw. I'd stroll through the shivering aisles, high on skooma and dreams. Now Starfield's got me mining space rocks and jeans. Back to the Oblivion, baby, where the quests were weird and gravy. From Sheogorath's cheese to Lucian's ghost, it had more charm than Todd could ever post. Yes, Starfield's big, but it's dull and gray. I'd rather close an Oblivion gate today. Now listen here, Todd, you silver-tongued crooner. You sold me lies smoother than a Khajiit moon sugar dealer. You see that planet? You can go there. Yeah, I went, it sucked, it's just a rock and despair. I want my persuasion wheel, my glitchy horse on a roof. I want that beggar with 6 voices telling me the truth. Make the liar had more insight and flair than all your procedurally generated air. Back to the Oblivion, baby, where the gates were hot and the jokes weren't lazy. Yeah, Skyrim was fine and the mods were neat, but Oblivion's heart had a weirder beat. So Todd, my boy, if you're hearing this song, bring back the weird and don't take so long. Doo-wop, Daedric pop, Martin Septim never dropped, but Starfield made me stop playing. Oh, Todd, please stop.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you. How you doing? Are you vibing?
I'm vibing.
You chilling? You rocking and rolling? Hopefully. Hopefully. How you guys doing? I know you're surprised to see me. Especially after, I don't know if you realize this, after I was canceled yesterday for saying that I like to eat mac and cheese with a spoon. But I'm not here to apologize. Nope. Nope. Not going to apologize for being right. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Like a baby. Hey, maybe babies have it figured out. Maybe babies know what's up. You know? You know? Yeah, cancel me. I don't care. Cancel me. Yeah. No, it's I don't understand. Somebody was like, Luke, macaroni and cheese is macaroni. It's a pasta. You eat pasta, full stop, with a fork. Doesn't matter what kind of pasta, you eat it with a fork. You don't eat spaghetti with a spoon, do you? And I was like, no, of course not. That's crazy, because you need the prongs to get the spaghetti. For mac and cheese, you just scoop it. And then you get more cheese in the spoon. Like it just works great, man. It works great. I'm half convinced that everybody who's telling me they eat mac and cheese with a fork is just trying to gaslight me. Everybody's being like, no, it's actually I totally use a fork. I'm like, I don't believe you guys for a second. You're all liars. You taking Nikki's take on this. Nikki is also a fork person. I will say it's caused many spats in our relationship. You know, we're trying to get this marriage back on track, but she's over there with a fork. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do anymore, frankly. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows? Anyway, how are you guys? Besides that scandal, how are you guys? You feeling good? Have you seen the meltdowns begin today? Because they're already starting. They're already starting. Tell you what. Where's your dog? He is currently upstairs. He had a very eventful morning because I was hanging out with him while making my my breakfast, and he disappeared all of a sudden, out of nowhere. It's like, oh, Romeo, where'd you go? Go around the corner. And he comes trotting back in looking super guilty. You know when a dog looks guilty? He's like,
Rafael
I didn't do anything.
Carvalho donated
That was his
54
face.
Brazilian reals and 90 centavos through Super Chat.
thank you.
Luke, EA announced yesterday that there's not going to have a F126. It will be a DLC. Have you seen? What's your opinion on it? I hope it's not.
Huh. My immediate thought is that it must be licensing fees. Like if they do a new game, they have to pay a certain fee, you know, to F1. But if instead they do an expansion, they don't have to pay the same fees. Like you remember how Breaking Bad, they were supposed to just have 5 seasons, but they split the last season into 2 seasons, 5A and 5B. And apparently they did that for 1, to get more episodes, but 2, because if they were to do a season 6, they would have to renegotiate all of the actors' contracts because they only signed on for 5 seasons. So instead of doing 6 seasons, they did seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5A, 5B. Still technically 6, but because of the loophole, they didn't have to renegotiate contracts to pay them more. And this, I wonder if this is a similar thing where it's like, oh yeah, well, we're not releasing another game. It's just an expansion to the game we already did. So we don't have to pay you extra, you know? That's what it makes me think of, at least. Yeah. Isn't Breaking Bad 5 seasons only on Netflix? I checked, it was 5 season. Yeah, so some outlets will combine seasons 5A and 5B, and it'll be, I think, like 16 episodes in season 5. Other outlets will split it, and it'll be season 5, season 6, and it'll be like 8 episodes for each one. Others will label it 5A, 5B. It's all over the place. Anyway, but they already have it. It's a regulation change. They announced F127 already. Maybe sports games have 2-year cycles. Probably be better for the games themselves if they took a little bit more time. You can only do so much in a year, you know? So I wouldn't be mad about it. But, oh yeah, Romeo looks super guilty. And it's because this little fella, my sweet, sweet Romeo, he got into the cat box. Got in the cat box. And I don't know if you know this about cat boxes. Romeo just told me about this. Those things are full of delicious treats. So Romeo sprinted in to the cat box and found himself a delicious snack and tried to eat it, and then proceeded to gag and puke all over the rug. And then looked at me like it was my fault. Like he gave me that look of like, why'd you do that? When it was like, what? So we cleaned that up. And then after he did that, he was like, you know what? I'm hungry. And so then he went and ate his breakfast and everything. And he was doing good. But yeah, he had that eventful day where I'm hoping now he's learned, don't eat the stuff out of the cat box. Probably won't learn, but what are you gonna do? Dogs have to puke on rugs. Yeah, it's just a tradition, frankly. Well, and we have the two cats. We have Hermione and Finley, and they both were looking at me like,
At Alucard 171 donated $10 through Super Chat.
thank you.
Apparently the reason for Ubisoft delaying their earnings was due to an accounting error tied to the transaction with Tencent.
Yes, we're going to talk about it because there are some people having a meltdown right now. Tell you what, even people spreading straight up fake news. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. What's interesting though is when this first broke, I posted this tweet where I was like, "Wait, they can do that? What?" But the example I found was actually a company out of Australia, Corporate Travel Management, and when they released their 2025 financial year results, it was actually due to like an accounting hiccup due to some big deal that they had done. So it was kind
Luke
of a similar
Warfield
thing.
donated $9.99 through Super Chat. With the next Black Myth game announced, what would you like to see improved upon over Wukong? Me personally, no bosses that you need an item to beat it or you can't win. Also, Chapter 6.
I mean, I think obviously, you say chapter 6 boxes suck. I would say obviously like performance, they need to refine that. Two, I would agree with like, I don't personally like gimmick fights, even in like Dark Souls, like the giant, whatever his name is, the giant where you have to use the storm sword. I just don't like gimmick fights. I just find them annoying. Or like, you know, the swarms, and then it's the one little guy with glowing eyes that you can deal damage to, and it actually affects the boss health bar. I just don't like those. I don't like gimmick fights. You know, I just think they're kind of a waste of time. They're not that interesting to me. I'd rather a challenging boss with unique moves that I have to like learn and adapt and overcome. So things like that. Beyond that, like the biggest thing I think that held Black Myth Wukong back was the connective tissue. It's like I said, with the game before it even came out, I was like, it's the connective tissue that we haven't seen. They kept showing boss fights that looked awesome, but it's like, what do you do between boss fights? What do you do to get to the boss fights? What are the levels like? And that was definitely the weak point, which is why they weren't showing it. They had really good boss fights, really cool, high intensity, crazy spectacle stuff, but it was the level design, it was the progression, it was getting prepared for the boss fight where the game was a little bit lacking and could get kind of boring. So I personally hope that they hire some really qualified level designers. They snipe some people from Soft and wherever else, and they get some really good level designers, and I think that would help them a lot. That'd be my case. That'd be my my case for what they should do. Let's see. Yeah, performance is kind of like one of those obvious ones, but unfortunately we have to say it. Dio, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Also thank you for the other super chat. Luke, we all know you have your mac and cheese without the cheese and with candle wax instead. That's why you use a spoon. You tell me you wouldn't eat mac and cheese that was scented like pumpkin scone or spiced pumpkin? What are you talking about? Dude, I love the idea that somebody comes into stream and just has like no idea what we're
At
talking about with the candle wax. It's just like,
9259 donated $10 through Super Chat. Since the TMNT Last Ronin movie got scrapped, it reminded me of the game. It's been 2 years since the announcement. Has there been any update?
I don't think so. Not that I recall. Maybe someone in chat knows, but I don't think so. I think it's been pretty quiet. Pretty quiet, I think. I can't think of an update. Maddie would know.
Rip Van Winkle donated $9.99 through Super Chat. Everyone's talking about Elder Scrolls and GTA 6 taking forever to drop, but I've been in agony waiting to hear an iota of info about the Blade game.
That's a good point. That was announced, what, like 4 years ago? 3-4 years ago? I don't know what it is, dude. It's like post-COVID. Maybe this is controversial. I do genuinely wonder if like the work from home stuff, because a lot of executives have said working from home has led to decreased productivity. And then people who like work from home have their own studies that say it actually increases productivity. So there's like at the very least conflict over what the truth is, whether it increases or decreases productivity. My guess is it's probably somewhere in the middle. For some people, it increases productivity. For others, it plummets productivity. I'm guessing it's both is the answer, but it seems like
At
productivity has plummeted.
222
you know?
donated $10 through Super Chat. What's your GOTY, Luke? Admit it's KCD2 and not E33. Cancel me. Go ahead. Cancel me.
Cancel me. I don't
Do
care.
it.
I don't care.
Cancel me.
Go ahead and cancel me. Oh man. I am still going back and forth. I will have a moment of serious reflection probably early December. Maybe we'll stream it and I'll just go through and we're gonna like decide in that moment. We'll do our game of the year roundup. Maybe we'll do that. That could be funny. Cause yeah, I just, oh man, I'm conflicted. I do freaking love KCD2. I also think Expedition 33 is phenomenal. It's just, they're both so good. They're both so good, you know? They're so good. Hold on. For those of you who don't know what we're referring to when we do the cancel me thing, it's this TikTok meme thing. I don't know if it started as a TikTok, but
I don't even think you should be on this freaking cancel me all you want. I don't even think you should be on this freaking darn game if you don't have a microphone. You can cancel me for that, I don't care. It's just my opinion, go ahead and cancel me.
No one gives a No one said we was canceling you.
If you don't have a microphone, you shouldn't be playing the game in the first place. That's just my opinion, go ahead and cancel me, I don't care.
Yo, Turtle, shut the up, bro.
It's just an opinion. You think I care if I get canceled? Over an opinion that simple? I don't.
Dude, we get it. Please, Turtle, shut the up. Jesus Christ.
Freaking ranting about something that someone's trying to cancel me for and stupid, like stupid opinion.
Bro,
No
no
one
one
said
has
they were
said
gonna
about
you.
it.
Yeah, why cancel someone for their stupid opinion? It's just simple.
Oh my god.
dude.
Go ahead though, cancel me, I don't care.
No one said they were gonna cancel you.
Bro, are you okay?
Why don't you drop it? Let me have my opinions.
Oh,
You're the one that's not
is
fucking dropping it.
Well, I'm not the one that has a problem with it.
Dude, just shut the up.
Cancel me all you want. I don't even think you should be on this freaking darn game.
cancel me all you want. I don't care. Cancel me. Cancel me. I don't care. Cancel me. He's brave. Yeah. He's a brave man. Let's see. Real quick. Luke, there's some massive new star system update with the new star system. You should definitely check out New Planets on the way. Yeah, thank you, Trey, for the super chat. And yes, I do intend on checking it out and looking at it. I also want to do a little collaboration, maybe with Space Tomato or something, but I want to do a fresh deep dive into it. That's my goal. I want to go deep into it. So we'll get there. Thank you, everybody, for the crazy, generous super chats to start off. My goodness. Rock Hawk, thank you for the 2. Just finished the OG God of War trilogy, and damn, cinema. Dude, for real. For real, man. For real. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Speaking of getting canceled, we should talk about Ubisoft, because this is crazy. This is crazy. Absolutely wild stuff going on with Ubisoft. So I guess let's just get into it. Let's just do it, you know. Corey says, yeah, I hear God of War is pretty good stuff. Yeah, dude. Corey says it's good. Cancel him for all he cares. Cancel him. He doesn't care. Cancel it. So news ever. So it turns out your boy was wrong. Many people were wrong. We all thought that for sure, Ubisoft had delayed earnings for like a week, 10 minutes before they were supposed to happen, because something big was going on behind the scenes. Because again, just bear in mind, they delayed earnings 10 minutes before it was supposed to happen. I cannot think of another time where something like that has ever happened. The example I pulled up was actually out of Australia, in August, where a company called Corporate Travel Management delayed the release of their earnings because of like an auditing bookkeeping issue that they had to address, because they had a big thing happen within their company, because they have a European region where they operate, but then they needed to adjust that for Australia. Who knows? It's far out of my purview, but they had to do some big adjustment in order to get it working, but they delayed earnings in advance of their earnings by like a few days. Ubisoft did it 10 minutes before. Like, what? Did they not know 20 minutes before? Like, what is happening? Anyway, so they delayed earnings. This was what they had posted, where they just said on November 13th, again, like over a week ago, that they were postponing it. They were halting like the trading of their shares and their bonds, and they would inform the market of a date when they would restart. Just, we'll get around to it. Just please wait. Like, it's crazy. Turns out now we know. So this morning they actually did update everybody. We do know what's going on. Okay. Ubisoft, I thought they were going to announce that they had been taken private, or were going to be taken private, in a partnership with the Saudi Private Investment Fund. That was my guess for why they canceled it at the last minute. That was my conspiracy theory. I was wrong. Turns out the week-long delay in its corporate earnings, the subject of much speculation, was due to financial reporting technicalities regarding two unspecified partnerships. Most likely, Vantage Studios and the new integration of Tencent into Vantage Studios with Ubisoft. And that's it. They say that the Tencent deal is on track. The AC franchise overperformed. Rainbow Six suffered a cheating wave, and that a mystery game is set for early 2026, probably Black Flag remake, potentially. Now, inevitably, a lot of people are starting to, I believe the official term is over this, and freak out, because the narrative has been that AC Shadows was a flop and was a cataclysmic disaster, and it doesn't actually seem like that was the case. But to do this, to talk about this, we're not going to look just at Twitter headlines. We're not going to look just at these little bitty nuggets of snippets that people have clipped out, because I've seen everybody taking a tweet and then retweeting that and being like, oh, well, this game article actually says this, and it's just nonsense. It's all BS, because you need to go back to the primary source. So I pulled up the actual transcript of the earnings call. Now, this is just as thrilling as you would imagine. Okay. Basically, when you do an earnings call, all of these executives, as you can see, they have the CFO. They'll have individual representatives of different investment firms that'll ask questions at the end. Major shareholders can ask questions. They each get their own segment where they can talk about it. So as you can see, Yves Guillemot, the CEO, talks at first, then the CFO goes through details, outlining all sorts of different stuff. All of this is written out in advance, is verified by like the legal team. It is very, very official. Okay. So everything you hear in this, except in very, very rare situations, has been very carefully vetted, because like this is something that is being done officially. It's regulated. Like, they can't get up during these calls and just make stuff up. Okay. Like, that's not how that works. If they do that, they go to prison. #Enron. Okay. You can't just make stuff up in these earnings calls. It like, there's an obligation for honesty. Okay. So anybody who's like, yeah, I just don't think that's real, they are alleging mass fraud and stuff, because they don't want to admit that maybe they were wrong about something. Okay. So just don't assume that just because it doesn't fit a current narrative that therefore it all has to be a conspiracy. But what do they specifically outline? Well, in this, enhance. In this, they go through like some of the basic outlines. strengthening our financial position by bringing in 1.16 billion of cash. Hashtag Tencent. They go through this. Division 2 also continued to perform strongly, benefiting from the momentum of the Battle for Brooklyn expansion. We made progress addressing our fixed cost base, brings with it confidence that we can continue to drive structural efficiencies across the organization that, together with top line growth, will contribute to ensure a return to strong cash generation in the coming years. Basically, I think it was last year, Ubisoft announced a major restructuring plan to cut costs and to try and save money. That included layoffs. It also included restructuring like the Vantage Studios thing, getting Tencent to bring cash in, things like that. But they are still doing that, and they say that they're on track. They're doing good, so that's good. Oh, shout out Luke Dale. Luke Dale just raided over on Twitch. Hell yeah. Thank you, Luke. Love your work, by the way. Good name too, the one and only Luke Dale. If you guys don't know, Luke Dale, hashtag Hans in KCD 2. Love to see it. Welcome everybody. Glad to have you. Forgive me, I'm recovering from bronchitis and I'm trying not to die. So with all of this, it's like pretty standard stuff, but it's when the CFO starts talking that things get interesting. Okay. This is when things get really, really interesting. You ready? You ready? Thank you for all the follows, guys. My goodness. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. We're looking at Ubisoft and checking out how like both messed up and also not as messed up as we thought things are, okay? It's very interesting. This whole thing is very interesting. So, Friedrich Duguay, I'm going to pat myself on the back for that pronunciation. I think I did a good job. He outlined all of this stuff. So turning to our second quarter, net bookings stood at 491 million euros, above guidance and up 39% year on year. The outperformance was driven by stronger than expected partnerships, demonstrating the power and attractiveness of our portfolio, as well as a meaningful contribution from live TV and animated series. Excluding partnerships, overall back catalog performance this quarter was robust and in line with expectations, broadly stable year on year, but marked by contrasted dynamics. The Assassin's Creed franchise posted a strong performance in Q2. This is during the window where AC Shadows launched, with both Assassin's Creed Shadows and the rest of the brand's catalog out or overperforming. And this is actually the sentence that has been misquoted by numerous people. So some people have said that just the Assassin's Creed franchise overperformed, but that could mean that AC Shadows underperformed. It's not what he says. What he says is AC Shadows and the rest of the brand's catalog overperformed. Now, overperformed against what? Against expectations. If they expected it to flop and it overperforms and doesn't flop, that's an overperformance. If you have something and you expect to sell 5 of them, but then you sell 6 of them, you did overperform. Does that mean that it's like changing the world and you're rolling in dough? Not necessarily, but you did overperform your expectations based on what you projected to your investors. What they projected to their investors was that AC Shadows would perform not as good as Valhalla, but probably closer to Odyssey in terms of like financial performance. A good selling game, big IP, AAA, all of that stuff, but not on the level of AC Valhalla. Because you have to remember, AC Valhalla launched as a cross-generational game, and it was also like in COVID, in lockdowns. It was a Viking game at the peak of Viking fandom. Like it was the perfect game at the perfect time for what it was. And it exploded. It made like over $1 billion in a very short period of time. It was their biggest game of all time in terms of like single player Assassin's Creed stuff. So nobody's expecting it to outperform Valhalla, but they were guesstimating probably in the range of Odyssey, and it seems to have actually done right in line with that, if not a little bit above where Odyssey performed. In the year to date, Assassin's Creed has generated 211 million session days, around 35% higher than the last 2 years average, which this personally to me, I'm like, I mean, you had Mirage 2 years ago, so like that doesn't seem that remarkable to me. Like I would hope it would be larger because you had a big game launch, but okay. Shadows benefited from the launch of New Game Plus mode, which was widely anticipated by the community and introduced greater difficulty and new challenges for players. The Claws of Awaji expansion released on September 16th and contributed to re-engaging players. It was praised as a solid addition to the base game, offering new, unique boss fights in a beautiful, dark atmosphere. Looking ahead, AC Shadows will reach a broader audience with its launch on Nintendo Switch 2 on December 2nd. Beyond Shadows, the rest of the AC back catalog also performs strongly, highlighting the strength of the franchise. This is interesting, okay? Look at this. This is going to blow your mind. Blow your mind. Because we're about to talk about what was expected to be a very niche game, okay? Turning to the current quarter, we launched Valley of Memory on November 18th, a free major update for AC Mirage, which brought new content and a fresh chapter in Basim's story set in Alula, I think. First feedback from the community is very positive, with player activity on AC Mirage doubling following the launch of the update, enabling the game to reach the 10 million player mark. 10 million. That's crazy. Now, granted, Mirage is now included on, I believe, multiple different subscription services. I believe now it's already included in Game Pass Ultimate. That was part of the whole like $30 thing, was that they were adding Ubisoft stuff to it. Of course, Ubisoft Plus, a lot of people already bought it and stuff, but it's still 10 million players is a crazy number for what was originally pitched as a DLC for Valhalla. If you forgot, AC Mirage was originally meant to be a DLC for Valhalla. Eventually they realized we could probably spin this off into its own game and just make it like a old school stealth focused Assassin's Creed game. But they decided to do that. And I honestly, I like Mirage. It is one of those games that's not trying to be a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. It's trying to be like something very specific. And I think it achieves that. Very narrow in scope, but that's kind of what we need in the industry nowadays with a lot of these big publishers. It's just tighter scope. Not every game has to be, you know, everything to everybody. You can have a little tighter scope. But the idea that it's now reached 10 million players, whether they are playing it through a subscription program or not, that is crazy. That is crazy. Inevitably, you will still see people that are trying to spin it and be like, yeah, but it's through Game Pass. Dude, you put a game up on Game Pass, you try to get 10 million players, bro. That's still crazy. 10 million? Do you have any idea how many people that are? Like, it's insane. It's absolutely crazy. And I think, just maybe this is my own bias, I think it shows people like the old school formula. People like the stealth. Personally, that's what I'm saying. Just saying, cancel me. I don't care. Cancel me for that. That's what I think. People, 10 million people like Mirage. Maybe do more stealth games. It does seem like they're going to do that. After Valley of Memory, it looks like Bordeaux, which is the studio behind Valley of Memory and AC Mirage, they are going to now be working on their own dedicated stealth-focused Assassin's Creed game, which realistically we won't see until next generation. It's probably like a 2020, realistically, like 2029, 2028, 2029 game, but that's going to be cool. I mean, if they actually now, I think they, with the success of Mirage, 10 million players, I think that they almost certainly will get given whatever budget they need to achieve that and to really push for a fully realized big budget old school style game, which I'm here for. They go on and they discuss Rainbow Six. They discuss problems with a hacking debacle that they had. Other things with like Star Wars Outlaws launching on the Switch. It launched to strong critical and player reception. The release expanded the game's audience and was praised for its exceptional visuals, technical optimization, smooth performance, and seamless transition to Nintendo's new hardware. Avatar Frontiers Pandora also posted strong performance this quarter. Okay. R&D, total cash R&D was down 11% and reflects our continued efforts to addressing our fixed cost base. Looking at cash flow statement on slide 9, free cash flow stood at minus 251 million euros compared to negative 126 million euros the previous year. And they go through all this. We finalized our stuff. We make progress on a new cost reduction plan. Let's see. Eve mentioned we had to delay publishing our results towards the end of the review process of our H1 financial accounts. Our new panel of auditors reviewed the analysis that had led to the fiscal 25 accounts being validated by our former panel of auditors in May. This related specifically to the new IFRS 15 revenue recognition of one meaningful partnership in fiscal 25. The new panel of statutory auditors considered the utilization-based payment schedules must now be recognized under IFRS 15 as revenues over utilization, even if the commitments are firm. This ultimately led to the restatement of our fiscal 25 account as per IAS 8. We then had to assess the impact of this restatement as well as the implication of this new position on the second partnership booked in Q2 along the same initial principles. Super fun. Basically, their panel of auditors found a hiccup and they needed to fix it. And then that meant that they had to reanalyze everything. And that took a week. And now they're here. So that's why they delayed it at the last minute by a week. I still don't know why they waited till 10 minutes before earnings, but that's why. That's why. Excuses, I mean, it literally is by definition an excuse. So I will agree with you there. Whether it's a good excuse or not, I mean, I'm glad that they didn't publish financial results that had accounting issues in them. I'm glad they caught the financial or the accounting issues. That's why you have auditors look at your stuff before you present it. But still crazy that 10 minutes before you do it. But what's happening now, I mean, all of this is interesting. Long story short, it's actually significantly better than people were expecting. And I think because of the last minute delay, people were braced and investors were braced for them to come out and be like, everything's bad, everything's on fire, we're shutting down. Like, people were getting ready for that. And so when they came out, we're like, actually, we outperformed our guidance. Because what happens is in Q1, they will give guidance saying to investors, we think we're going to do these numbers next quarter. And if they achieve those targets, then they're good. If they overachieve them, even better. If they underperform, bad. But everybody expected them to underperform. They actually came out, overperformed. And now people are like, oh, really? Okay, crazy. So Ubisoft stock is actually doing quite well today as a result of this news. But what's happening in the gaming space is that everything is pretty much focused on Assassin's Creed and specifically AC Shadows. Because in the gaming space, the narrative has been among some that AC Shadows must have been a flop, either because you don't like it for cultural war reasons or you just thought the game was boring, whatever the reason may be. But it actually seems like it, according to their estimations, they are saying, again, under penalty of like imprisonment if they lie in these earnings calls, they're saying that both Assassin's Creed Shadows and the rest of the brand's catalog overperformed their expectations, which is cool. I mean, I think it's surprising because I think they were facing many headwinds for sure, but I think it's also a reminder for everybody that Assassin's Creed is freaking gigantic. It's just huge. And the casual audience that really loves Assassin's Creed, they are not the type to be online looking up what Grums has to say about video games. Like they just don't care. They just don't care. So like it doesn't matter. Because you can have a game which is like maybe not the best. Like I think again, Shadows I thought was a good step away from the Valhalla era of just pure junk food games, and they were trying to get a little bit more substantive. I still think that there's a lot of work left to do. They have to overhaul the motion capture. They have to overhaul like the narrative stuff because the writing is really dry. But the production quality, the polish, all of that was pretty undeniable and impressive. But they still have some work to do. It just wasn't a masterpiece, but it was a step in the right direction. But they were fighting some massive headwinds. But I think that all of this just goes to show that the casual audience that is not terminally on Twitter, they were interested. They bought it because they saw a new Assassin's Creed game came out and they played it. They had a good time. They spent money on it and they're good. Do they still need a reality check? Ubisoft? I mean, I think that the constant stock troubles are a very good reminder for them. I think it's a very good reminder for them that that things are not going well. Because even if we just go over the last like 5 years, I mean, again, like you can see back in 2021, era of Valhalla, they're trading at like 20, and it just continues to drop and drop and drop and drop and drop and drop and drop. And so this tells you pretty much all you need to know as far as like investors are concerned, and the executive team. Clearly things are not going the way that they want. There's a lot of interesting, this is why I like Seeking Alpha. Not investment advice, it's just honestly a good website. But they have a lot of this stuff collected, so you can look at like Capcom, Square Enix, Katakawa, which is one of the major holders of From Software, CD Projekt Red, you can look at all those. But it also connects together analysis from all these different outlets on the firms. So you can see this guy, Kineo, he says Ubisoft a confusing structure and fading turnaround potential, and he downgrades the rating, what he thinks the company's worth. These guys, significant challenges, speculative upside, thinks there's an upside to all of this if they can kind of untangle the web. These guys, DPRG Investment Management, the Tencent deal could spark a game-changing comeback, which if you are an investor and you think that the Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Rainbow franchises are worth about $7 billion, which is roughly what they're estimated to be worth, and you think that Tencent can come in and kick some sense into Ubisoft, right now the market cap is $1 billion. If they are able to come in and fix the company and 7x the value and just get the company worth what the IP are worth, you can make stupid money on Ubisoft if you believe that they can actually untangle this and get back on track. As you can tell with where it's trading, most investors don't feel they're going to do that. But if you're an investor who thinks that you can understand their business and think that they can actually get back on track, then there's a lot of money to be made. But that's where investment and analysis comes in, right? Do I believe? My position has been for a long time that I do not think that Ubisoft, being led by the Guillemot family, is capable of doing what they need to do. Personally, I think they had some capable managers at one point, but those people happen to also be horribly toxic, abusive, and many other things. And so they were kicked out and fired. And so while they might have been good at like juggling production schedules, they were horribly toxic and abusive, and so they were fired, rightfully. But now they've replaced it with like cousins and nephews and uncles and brothers and sisters who don't know what they're doing. And now like the company is just floundering. So yeah, I think until they completely redo the management lineup, I would not have a lot of confidence in it. I don't own gaming stocks for obvious reasons because it's a conflict of interest. So I don't hold gaming stocks, but if I were like outside of this universe and I were looking to make investments or stuff, right now I would not be holding Ubisoft stock. I do not feel that confident in their trajectory. I'm more confident than I was like a year ago, considering like Tencent's involvement, but then they, slapped me upside the face with the other choice, which is, putting Yves Guillemot's son as CEO, co-CEO of Vantage Studios, which is like such an obviously stupid decision that it doesn't even really warrant explaining. But yeah, all this to say, I would not buy Ubisoft stock. Not investment advice. I'm just don't recommend it. not investment advice, but if you do it, you're dumber than a dummy, I think.
Donated $10
Thank you,
through
Kane.
Super Chat. If AC overperformed so well, why are their stocks so low? Also, what are the chances we'll get another IT better not be Fallout I swear to God moment at the GOTY Awards?
I don't think that'll happen at this Game Awards, because I think if it goes to Expedition 33, everybody will be hyped. I think if it goes to KCD2, everybody will be hyped. The one game, if it won, that I think would upset people, I think if Death Stranding 2 won Game of the Year, I think people would throw a fit. I think then people would throw a fit. Because, like, Death Stranding 2 is good. But, like, is it on the level of Expedition? Like, really? You know, I think that would cause an uproar. Especially because I understand, like, there is a distinction between Jeff and the people who pick the actual award. It's not like Jeff is picking who wins. That's not what's happening. But there is clearly like a bias, or at least like a conflict of interest with Jeff and Kojima being like close and being buddies. It just makes it, if it were to win a big upset like that, I think it would upset people. I think that would upset people. As for if AC overperforms so well, why are their stocks so low? Ubisoft is not just Assassin's Creed, and companies are not valued on today. There's something called net present value of assets, or NPV. And net present value, this is going to be very, very, I'm going to keep this very, very bare bones and won't go too much into this, but this is kind of like my entire bachelor's degree was centered on this. But basically, net present value, or net present worth, as it's called, I believe in Europe, is a way of measuring the value of an asset or a company that has a cash flow by adding up the present value of all future cash flows it will generate. This is also done with a lot of complicated math to calculate the time value of money, because money is worth different amounts based on the time in which it's gained and the time at which it's taxed and the time at which you're going to value the firm at that point, or the asset or the project or whatever. And so then you have to do a lot of complicated math, like weighted average costs of capital and investment returns and all this stuff. It's a lot of crazy math. But the point is, if Assassin's Creed does really well today, that's great. That's cool. But that tells you what it did today. When you're buying a car, you're not buying it so that it performs today and not tomorrow. You're buying it based on the value it's going to give you over the next week, 2 weeks, month, year, 5 years, 10 years as you drive that car. If you knew the car was going to stop running tomorrow, you probably wouldn't pay very much for it, right? So for a company, you're not valuing it based on today. You're buying and valuing it based on what it's going to do in the future over time. And when investors look at Ubisoft, the point is that they are looking at it and being like, okay, cool. Today you did okay, or good even. But what are we going to do in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? And that is where confidence in management comes in. That's when all of this floods in with a lot more complicated evaluations. And with Ubisoft right now, the trends are not great. And the confidence in leadership is very, very low. And so there's just not a lot of hope from investors that they're going to be able to dig themselves out of it. So that's why. You could have a company or a franchise like AC greatly overperform, but if everything else looks like ass in the lineup in the next 5 years, the stock will still go down. There's even been cases where like Apple will surpass their earnings on their earnings call. They will overachieve, but their stock will still drop because there was some news that, yeah, our projections are that interest in iPhones in China has dropped, and the stock drops 4%, because it's not just a matter of excuse me, it's not just a matter of this one, variable. It's an equation with 50 variables, yeah, it's a whole thing. Just like Nvidia yesterday. Yeah. All of these companies, the stock market is not a single variable thing. There's a lot going into valuations. Way more than I think is often presented on places like Twitter, for example. There's a lot. What do you think Ubisoft's biggest golden egg is? Probably I think they value Assassin's Creed more than Rainbow. But I would say yeah, I mean, Rainbow's kind of mellowing out a little bit. Probably Assassin's Creed. Probably, I think. Yeah, we'll see if that's still true in a year or two, but who knows? One of the other interesting things. So let's talk about this. News, Emma. I'll let Jacob decide if you want to split these, put these together, or split them. Might be worth splitting them. So inside the earnings call, which we did just look at the full transcript of, where it breaks down overperformance on Assassin's Creed Shadows and Assassin's Creed just generally as a franchise. They describe how AC Mirage has hit 10 million players, showing there's a lot of interest in Assassin's Creed. Maybe not on Twitter amongst some, but certainly among a lot of the casual crowd. There's a lot of people that are very interested in AC who are still playing it very, very actively. But one of the interesting tidbits in this, of course, has to do with one of the expected releases from Ubisoft early next year. And that is the worst kept secret in gaming right now, which is the Black Flag remake. They've reaffirmed that it is looking very, very likely to be launching before March 31st. It's looking maybe like the week before that. What specifically are we looking at? Well, as you can see in this report from Insider Gaming, the Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake is one of the most talked about games within the Ubisoft machine, but until now, it hasn't been officially acknowledged or formally acknowledged by the company. However, Insider Gaming has covered the game extensively over the past 18 months and has now learned that it's set to launch before March 31st. This is important because it was suspected that it was possibly delayed into fall of next year and that Hexe was getting delayed into 2027. But this looks like they might actually still hit March for Black Flag, and they could still hit Hexe in like the October region for next year to hit it for Halloween and before GTA 6, which would be bad to launch next to, because Hexe apparently is pretty spooky, and so it's assumed to launch probably around Halloween. But what do they have here? Insider Gaming has learned that the yet unannounced Assassin's Creed remake is set to launch before March 31st. The first official sign of the announcement came today during the delayed Ubisoft earnings, where, quote, one unannounced game, end quote, is set to be released before the end of the company's fiscal year, which ends March 31st. It's the only game on the slate not uncovered and is flanked by the likes of Rainbow Six Mobile, The Division Resurgence, and Anno 117 Pax Romana. And anybody who was like, oh no, I think this is going to be Prince of Persia, that has technically been announced, the remake. So as you can see here, fiscal year 26E, stable net bookings year on year, approximate break-even non-IFRS operating income, negative free cash flow. Following the closing of the Tencent transaction, the group expects to maintain a consolidated net debt position of around zero. H2 lineup, Pax Romana launched, Valley of Memory launched, From the Ashes, not yet. Rainbow Six Mobile, I don't think that's out yet. Same with Division. Prince of Persia is expected probably in like February, I think is the expected window. And then an unannounced title. Unannounced. I am seriously wondering if they're going to do like a shadow drop. Because I think it's very likely that they looked at the Oblivion remake and were like, that worked pretty well. That worked. Okay, maybe we try that. And this is what I've said. I remember when Oblivion remake came out, we did that follow-up video on Black Flag remake. I've been saying that they absolutely need to shadow drop it. I would benefit from a longer like marketing cycle as a YouTuber and streamer if they did like a trailer and an event and they did gameplay previews. That would be good for my business. I am telling them for their business, what would be best is to just shadow drop it. Don't give anybody the chance to have a problem with it, to poke and prod and tear it apart. Reveal it, shadow drop it, play it today. Let people go out, try it, download it, make up their own minds. Because I guarantee you, if they had done like an extended marketing cycle for the Oblivion remake, still would have done well. I don't think it would have done as well, personally. So I think that they should shadow drop it kind of out of nowhere. Just have fun with it. That's my recommendation. yes, it's true. Like, no hype cycle. I like it. The thing is, a hype cycle, I think we're out of like the era of needing to build extensive hype. I think right now people are so desperate with so many games coming out. People are desperate for like a big moment, a splash. And when you do something with an extended marketing cycle, whether that's a Monster Hunter Wilds, whether that's a game like Death Stranding 2 or Silent Hill F, or any of these games that had big marketing cycles and that a lot of people talked about for a long time, they kind of come and then they go. You know, it's just like, oh, here it is, and now it's gone. Remember Doom? That game from only like 6 months ago that like nobody talks about anymore? Doom was like a heavily marketed big game for Xbox, and like nobody talks about it anymore. It like came, went, apparently it didn't do like that crazy well either. But I guarantee you, if they just like shadow dropped the Black Flag remake out of nowhere, I think it would explode. I think it would do very well. I think word of mouth would travel far and wide. The only potential reason not to do it that way, okay? Devil's advocate on myself. I think a huge appeal of the Black Flag remake is specifically targeting people that played it back in the day who maybe have not been that in tune with gaming recently, because Black Flag is such a massive, it was such a massive game back in like that 2014 era, that I think, I guess 2013, 14 era, that I think a lot of people played it. A lot of people love it, think of it nostalgically, and I think they would be interested in playing a remake. But those people may not be that in tune with the gaming community online, who will be talking about it and where word of mouth will travel around. But to be fair, I could also say the same thing for the Oblivion remake. Personally, I think if they just shadow dropped it, that would be best for the game. But we'll see. Historically, Ubisoft doesn't tend to do that. They just don't tend to do that. But time will tell. Time will tell. Can I block this specific ad? It's like covering up part of the text. This is driving me crazy. It's like blocking some of the text itself. That's super annoying. Anyway, they continue. Something Black Flag remake, which is often considered one of the best AC games. As of yet, Ubisoft has yet to officially announce the Black Flag remake, but Insider Gaming has covered the game. And the remake is expected to be more RPG heavy, and we've talked about some of that stuff, some of the changes that they're doing. But also in line with this, Insider Gaming reports that the Black Flag remake will launch the week of March 23rd, so likely Thursday, March 26th, which is roughly when it's looking like it would be. But this would be crazy, as Jor posts here. March 26th is already stacking up. Crimson Desert is coming on the 19th of March. Sauros is coming on the 20th of March. 007 is expected March 27th, and Ubisoft typically launches on like Thursdays, which would put it March 26th, and then 007 comes out the day following. March is going to be crazy. March is going to be crazy. Now, to be fair, February was like this year, before all the delays. So if you recall, I think it was KCD 2 was expected like, it was like February 11th or something. And then it was Assassin's Creed Shadows was on Valentine's Day. And then Avowed was a couple of days after that. And then I think Monster Hunter Wilds was after that, and then Split Fiction was somewhere in there too. It was crazy packed. And then Yakuza Pirates, yeah, a bunch of stuff got moved and delayed and shifted around. And who knows, maybe that'll happen here. I wouldn't be shocked if 007 got delayed to polish it up. I really like IOI, and I think 007 is a game that has a lot of potential, but they cannot have it running as bad as it did in that trailer. So I hope that they, if they need time to polish it, I hope they delay it. Crimson Desert is just insane and crazy, and I don't think they'll need to move. I think that they're pretty confident in that window. Saros, who knows? We haven't really seen a ton about it, but I'm sure if they're saying March 20th, they're probably confident there. But it's in this window where the Black Flag remake will be launching, which is pretty wild. Pretty wild. So it's going to be busy. Going to be a busy March, friends and family. Sure will. Sure will. But that is what we're looking at with the Black Flag remake. It looks like it's actually happening. It looks like it has not been delayed until later in the year, and it's actually sticking with that rough window
At Bender
in March.
5049 donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Could you imagine if next year where we get a Black Flag remake, Half-Life 3, and GTA 6 in the same year?
Dude, that'd be crazy. Because I think GTA 6 is sticking to the date. I cannot imagine them delaying into another year. So I think that that's true. We also very well, this is maybe me coming out crazy. I'm not confident about Half-Life 3, but I do think the odds are pretty high that we get the Fallout 3 remake next year. That's what I'm thinking. I think that comes out, and that's their like Oblivion remaster for the year. That's my guess. So I think we probably get Black Flag remake, Fallout 3 remake, and GTA 6. I think so. And Chess 2, yeah. Thank you for the 10. Yeah, with Creation Club plus. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Cascope, thank you for the 2. I'm not sure what your message was. It says it's retracted. I'm sorry. Luke, thank you for the 5. As someone who sucks at Souls game, is Remnant 2 worth getting or too hard? Is it? It's on Black Friday sale. I like Remnant 2. It doesn't, for me, play like a Souls game. It's not that difficult. If you crank the difficulty, yeah, it just kind of turns all the enemies into bullet sponges and stuff. But to me, it doesn't. In my brain, I don't put them in the same category personally. Oh yeah, and Wolverine. Can't forget about Wolverine. Let's see. And then Mind's Eye, Goaty, woo, says Wilson. Oh, Mind's Eye. Oh, Mind's Eye. What a game. What a game. Oh, man. Arvin Delay, thank you for the 13 months. Is there a non-zero chance we get a constipation minigame in GTA 6 using adaptive triggers? I don't know why, but I feel like it would add to the immersion. What the hell did I just read? What did I just read? You know, there was kind of that mini game in was it The Fractured But Whole? I think that was in that game. Remember where you sit on the toilet and you have to pinch it at the right time? So there is a game like that. I don't think it works with adaptive triggers, but there is something out there for you, I think, for you to sink your teeth into, if that's not too gross a way of saying that. I will say KCD2, they were nominated for a bunch of stuff at the Golden Joysticks. They didn't take any prizes, I think. I think they were basically second place across the board. Expedition 33 just wiped it. But they did post this on their official page, which is pretty funny, of course. You know, you get handed the medal. Yeah, you buy it. Ah, yeah, I'm a winner. Kiss the host. Yeah, screw you guys. I'm a winner. Yeah. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. They're pretty funny. They're funny guys. We also won as ultimate second place. First place to me, KCD2. We are KCD2 after all. That's pretty funny. Oh, dude, this final shot. Oh. So good. So good. Oh, man. That was pretty funny. Wiping their tears with $100 bills. Yeah, well, I mean, it's just tough when like your game is very, very good, but there can only be one winner, you know, there can only be one winner, and man, it's just a tough year. It's a tough year, you know? Good year, but tough. This is also interesting. Sony has made over $1.2 billion on Steam via selling over 43 million copies of PlayStation Studio games, according to Alinea Analytics estimations. Here's the top 5 PlayStation games on Steam by copies sold. Full analysis in the new free Substack. Estimated 12 million copies of Helldivers, 4.5 million of Horizon, 4.2 of God of War, 3.4 of Days Gone, and 2.7 of Spider-Man. Estimated $1.5 billion in revenue. Yeah, that Days Gone PC revenue, Jor fighting the good fight. That Days Gone PC revenue and the PlayStation sales should be more than enough to get a sequel greenlit at every other major company. Dude, for real. But why do that when you can have them make another crappy live service game that you cancel in a year and a half? Why not? Why not? What else would we need to do? Just have them work on a game that you cancel in a little bit. Problem solved. There you go. Now, of course, these are just estimates, so who knows how exactly the numbers are. But Alinea Analytics, typically pretty damn close, which is literally their entire business. If they aren't close to the numbers, the real numbers, nobody hires them, so they have to be close. But the point is, they've made a lot of money on Steam with these PC ports, which is why they're doing it. That's why they're doing it. Which is funny, because this comes in like the weeks following some of the discourse around like PC and PlayStation's interest in it, where people were suggesting that it was possible they would even stop bringing games to PC because it was like too expensive, or they didn't think the return was good enough. It's just, but I don't think that's what's happening. Christopher, thank you for the 5. I feel like such an outsider. I enjoyed Expedition 33. It's my top 10 game, top 10 for the years, but isn't in my top 10 RPGs of all time or top 10 overall. Well, that's interesting. I mean, it's okay if you don't eat it up. That's totally fine. I think for a lot of people that have not experienced older school RPGs, it was so different that it really felt like a breath of fresh air, because they just had never experienced anything like that before.
At Lo-Fi Lazy, donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Saw your small crash out over Dispatch, only getting one nom, much
Yeah.
appreciated. Did you see E33 director shout them out at the GJS Awards, and the artist who made the party song said it changed her life?
I didn't see that last bit, but yeah, I did see they shouted them out. They're just good guys. And I mean, yeah, Dispatch is so good. I'm braced for a season 2 announcement at the Game Awards. Call it cope. Cancel me. I don't care. Cancel me. I don't care. Just my opinion. You're going to cancel me over my opinion that they're going to announce season 2? Sure, go for it. Cancel me. I don't care. I think it's a stupid reason to cancel somebody, but sure, cancel me. I don't care. Yeah. Cancel me. Wilson, thank you for the 5. I don't understand. People do not really casually talk about Horizon, yet the numbers are never bad. It's a showcase game. I mean, it's a game that if you want to really push your PC to limits, you want to see what crazy robot dinosaurs look like on your PC, you can do that. It's a really good junk food game. And yeah, it sells well. I mean, if Aloy for like 5, 6, 7 years has been like the mascot for PlayStation, paired with Kratos. When you see a trailer at a football game or something, that's what they're showing. An ad is showing Aloy running through a field, because it's a really good way of instantly visualizing and explaining what you're dealing with. Like high fidelity graphics, strong art direction, third person adventure games. Like that's what PlayStation is really focused on and is known for. So as a result, they sell. And they sell because of that, it's kind of a circle. I'm a huge fan of Days Gone, says Corey. Yeah, dude, me too. I understand why people didn't love it originally. I understand, like at launch, it didn't run that great. I do remember at launch it didn't work great. But dude, I remember this trailer. Do you guys remember this trailer from 2016? This is a throwback, okay? This is a throwback. But this is a 2016 gameplay demo. I still think if you showed this gameplay demo today, people would lose their minds, assuming they had like seen this before. But I still think today this would pop off. Just skip ahead. Looting inside the truck, but it's specifically once you get over here and you can hear it.
Look around, brother. You know how this is gonna end.
Even today, that many zombies on screen is pretty crazy. And there's even more over there. And it just gets crazier and crazier. Like my frustrations with Days Gone were mostly pacing wise. The coolest thing in the game are these hordes, but the hordes, you only really get the tools to fight them later in the game. And I get why, like you got to go somewhere. You have to have somewhere to go, you know, in a game. You can't start with napalm, but I like, you play half the game and then finally get access to the hordes, and then you start having a really good time. But you kind of had to put up with half the game of just kind of mediocre open world adventuring to get there. But boy, when you get there and you start dealing with this, there's nothing quite like this. Oh God. What a vibe, dude. But I remember at launch, it didn't run that great. And I think that was a big part of why word of mouth wasn't great for it. So I don't think that helped it at all. But, oh, dude, this trailer takes me back. Come on, come on. And then he gets the last ones. And then the camera will pull back. Oh, I'm okay now, right? Everything is gonna be just fine.
Come on. Come on.
It's a vibe. I agree. It should get a sequel. Looks like slop. Someone is looking in the mirror. Oh, looks like the kettle is calling the pot black. Seems like it. Interesting. Interesting. Limit Breaker, thank you for 9 months. Oh, bro, it's been forever since I was able to hit a live stream. Hope you, Nikki, the boys, Jacob, Mr. Romeo are doing great. Have an awesome holiday. You too, my friend. You too, my friend. Yeah, we're doing great. We're vibing, rocking and rolling. Romeo, when he's not trying to eat cat poop, is doing great. He's a sweet little fella. And boy, is he just a cuddle. He's a couch potato cuddle bear. I mean, he just shoves his head into your chest and is like, just rub my face. I just want to lay down and go to bed. He's a sweetie. He is a sweetie. Oh, what a good guy. Limit Breaker, thank you for 5 gifted memberships too. Very generous. Thank you. Very generous. My goodness. Space Marine 2 for the hordes. Yeah, Space Marine 2, dude, is also crazy with the hordes. Also that World War Z? They also had some crazy horde mechanics too. But Days Gone was the first game I can remember that had anything like that. It was wild. It was wild. And it really is too bad that they didn't get greenlit for the sequel. I do wonder, because if you don't know, there was a lot of let's say drama with some of the people who were directors on the games and like head of the studio, and they were eventually like, it seemed as though they were pushed out. I don't know if they chose to leave of their own volition or if they were pushed out. I don't know the story well enough, and I won't pretend to, but I do wonder if that maybe had something to do with it as well. I don't know. We absolutely warranted more for that world. Well, and there's just, it kind of writes itself, right? Like after you lay the foundation of the first game, and you got out of the way, like the foundational stuff of I guess no spoilers in case somebody wants to play it, but relationship issues and some of the most bare bones stuff in terms of like getting loaded up and equipped with getting your bike back and getting weaponry and stuff. For a sequel, you could just immediately go balls to the walls, and like the hordes are just kind of like a normal occurrence. Like maybe you go into a big city, maybe they go into Portland because it's set in Oregon. You could go into, dude, can you imagine a post-apocalyptic zombie game with hordes set in Portland? There's so much you could do with that. Like, I can just imagine the zombie designs now. But you go into the city, you can have roaming hordes and stuff. And then, you know, you can add in the crazier designs for the sorry, not zombies, freakers. They called them freakers in that game. I remember how kind of awkward. There was one interview I saw where they called them zombies. And one of the like studio guys was like, they're not zombies, they're freakers. And they sat in silence for like an uncomfortable period of time. It was one of those like E3 interviews, like on the show floor. And they were like, is this really? Oh, okay. Like, I get that they wanted to distinguish it, but I was like, they're zombies. Come on, man. They're zombies. Corey says, I've referenced that game like 3 times over the last few weeks in creative meetings. Ben Team did some amazing work. Well, it's good to hear at least that their legend can live on, because I know that they've had a rough go of it. I mean, I'm glad that they're still, at least some of them are still over there, because clearly they got crazy good talent, but they were working on some live service game. I don't think we ever found anything out about it, but it was supposedly using tech and tools that they built for Days Gone, but it was going to be a live service game, and then they shut that down and greenlit a new live service game that they're working on because they had hired a bunch of like networking guys and they hired a bunch of multiplayer designers. So who knows? I just hope that they can get something out the door. You know, it's just, that's probably the most heartbreaking thing about this generation. It's just the wasted. This makes me sound like such a granola bar, crunchy munchy person, but like the wasted energy, you know, years of talent and work and passion has been poured into so many projects that have just gotten shut down or gutted because they look back and like, actually, never mind. Like, it's crazy. Like, obviously some games, they just don't come together and you got to cancel them, rework it, go do something else. That happens. But it's been like 5 years of projects like The Last of Us Online, projects like Bluepoint's game, Sony Ben's game. I think there was a Bungie game. There's just so many that just get shut down. And maybe they were just trend chasing and then they got, you know, they course corrected. I don't know, but it feels bad to have that much time and that much work just disappear. You know, and maybe we do see the Last of Us Online, for example, in some form eventually, but I don't know. It's just heartbreaking. Let's see. The Great Dub. Thank you for the membership. Love the chill vibe to the stream with all the level-headed magma hot takes. No wonder all these people are out here trying to cancel you. Yeah, cancel me. I don't care. Tell me I should eat mac and cheese with a fork? You're crazy. I don't care. I think it's pretty clear. You eat mac and cheese with a spoon, but yeah, cancel me. I don't care. Do what you're going to do. I don't care. Oh, man. Christopher, thank you for the vibe. I get what you mean. This generation's game that defines a generation is Expedition 33, similar to how Final Fantasy VII in 1997 that defined a generation. I think I love Expedition 33, but I think we should be cautious. Like, ultimately, like, the industry's zeitgeist, its world spirit will decide what is the generation like defining game. So far, I would argue that's Baldur's Gate 3. But time will tell. Time will tell. Like, I think in 5 years, if we look back, it'll be interesting to see what games have had the most influence on design philosophies. Like, Witcher 3 changed things a lot, you know? And you can see in the years that followed all of the games that looked to Witcher 3 and started to try and take nods and inspirations. Elden Ring, yeah. Elden Ring, though, I think is interesting because I think Elden Ring is one of those games that a lot of studios look at and go, how would we even try? You know, like Elden Ring is one of those games where like, I would love to be inspired by Elden Ring, but I don't even know where we would start. Like, I don't even know, bro. Like, let's be inspired by something else because that's too big of a bite to chew, you know? I will say I've been playing back through Elden Ring with the seamless co-op mod, and bro, that's fire. It's fire. It's been long enough that like I vaguely remember certain levels and where to go, and like, oh, I think there's something over here. I don't remember what, but there's something over here. So it's been long enough that I can like re-experience it and have a great time. But it's a vibe, and the seamless co-op works really, really well. Yeah, unironically, and not just saying this because Corey's in the chat, I do think also God of War 2018 kickstarted like a whole new era of cinematic third person, specifically narrative focused games. I think you see a lot of games, whether they're big first party games. I mean, we're even seeing, what was the name of that one that they just announced? Oh, that's gonna drive me crazy. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, that's gonna drive me crazy. What was that called? Oh, Blood Message? Is that it? Yeah, like this one. Like this one, this is like one of those games where you can tell that they saw God of War and they're like, okay, yeah, what if we did our own spin on that? Like, not in a bad way, just like clearly inspired by the presentation, the cinematic quality, like the combat systems, everything. Absolutely crazy. And a very talented team in their own right. I mean, you have to be to put something like this together. You know, it's like, it's insane. But I do think God of War did kickstart like a whole new wave of third-person cinematic adventure games. So whether it's a huge AAA production like this, or it's even a smaller project like something like Banishers Ghost of New Eden, or games like that, all inspired by what they achieved there. I think absolutely. Yeah, this game looks insane though, dude. Let's see what this is like, because apparently it's a crossover, like it's a melding of God of War meets like Tomb Raider meets like, what else would I compare it to? It's like God of War, Tomb Raider, Uncharted a little bit too. It's wild. It's wild. Wow, that looks fucking great. I have not heard of it, so I'm gonna check it more. Yeah, Blood Message. It's from, what's the name of the studio? I think it's a brand new team too. It's NetEase Thunderfire. And it's like a brand new studio, I think. No. Oh, it's this one. It's the 2007. So previously, they've done a lot of games that are these like smaller mobile game projects, or big mobile game projects, I guess. But they work on all sorts of these games for NetEase, but this is like the first time they've been given the chance to do this like Western inspired single player game. And it's just absolutely crazy. But I think that this is going to be the trend, especially into the next generation of consoles too, for the next like 10 years, is it's going to be a lot of these Eastern studios that previously have only done like mobile games, MMOs, like the games that are really popular in China, Japan, Korea, but they're going to start to compete in the Western markets with console single player games, narrative games. We're already seeing it with games like Where Winds Meet, and all of that talent is going to start to really flex its muscles, and it's going to start blowing people's minds. Because, bro, like, it's absolutely crazy what they're able to do. Shows you talent is all over the world. It's just about harnessing it, finding it, preserving it, and kind of lifting it up to an audience. And man, it's absolutely crazy. So we'll see what that looks like when it comes out. Did they give any timelines? I don't remember. PC and consoles. Yeah, I don't think they gave timelines. But yeah, that one's crazy. That one's crazy. Let the devs cook. Let the devs cook. Well, I think Black Myth, you want to talk about like generational influence? Like, I think Black Myth Wukong woke up a lot of investors and publishers and developers in those Eastern communities and Eastern development markets. And it woke them up to go, oh no, like you can come over to Western markets and make ridiculous amounts of money and be very successful making these single player games. There was that story where the developers of Phantom Blade Zero, S-Game, they are a Chinese development company, and they saw a huge influx of investment after Black Myth Wukong launched. So after Black Myth comes out, a separate game from a separate studio, they had investors approach them unsolicited, offering money to continue cranking up production because they wanted a piece of the pie that they think Phantom Blade Zero will get. But I think that's what Black Myth Wukong did, not just for S-Game, but for a lot of other studios in China, in Japan, in Korea. And it's going to be probably still like 3, 4, or 5 years before we start to see the results of that. But I do think we will see the results of that. It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. Okay. We should touch on this though. I saw one of you guys asking about this. Slack Saurus Rex. We did talk about that just earlier on stream. So go check it out if you you can rewind the VOD. See you, Joseph. Good to see you. Okay. Let's talk about this real quick, because this is interesting. One of you guys in chat was asking about it. Forgive me, I don't remember who asked it, but we'll look at this. So Call of Duty Black Ops 7 sales are down 50% in Europe. There's a little more nuance to it than that, but that's it's not great. It's not great, especially because if you remember, the news broke that last year when they brought Call of Duty to Game Pass, it was estimated to have lost Xbox roughly $300 million, which is a lot. And my frustration, like personally, who cares about Call of Duty? I don't play it. I'm not that interested. Who cares? The problem is that when let's use an analogy. When you're on a raft, you ever play one of those games like where you build a raft? When you're in a raft and one corner of the raft starts to sink, what do you have to do? All the other buoys, floaty things, I don't know the terms, all the other things have to do more work to keep it afloat because this one is not doing its job. Maybe let's use another analogy that's maybe more in line. When you're carrying a coffin as a pallbearer, and you have one guy on the front that's not carrying or lifting any weight, the coffin will start to sag. So that means everybody else who's carrying it has to lift harder to hold it up. Otherwise, grandma's going to flop on the ground, right? So you have to work harder because this one person's slacking. With Call of Duty starting to slack and lose tons of money, other studios, publishers, are going to have to start picking up the slack and lifting the weight, making up the difference. And that's a problem because Call of Duty has been built and laid out very specifically to extract the maximum amount of cash possible from its audience. And it's built in that way because it's the type of game where you can do that. But now what's happened is that Microsoft CFO, Amy Wood, I believe it is, she has mandated that the entire Xbox division achieves a 30% margin. For every dollar that they take in, 30 cents of it has to be profit. And so that sounds fine. But when you realize that Call of Duty is potentially hemorrhaging $300 million a year, that's a problem because that money has to come up somewhere from someone else. And that's when you start to see other studios trying to pick up the slack. Studios and publishers like maybe Bethesda Game Studios needing to come up with ways to get their margin above 30%, maybe to 40 or 50% with paid mods so that their numbers are doing really, really well. And that helps make up for Call of Duty's shortcomings. And so everybody else has to start carrying more weight because Call of Duty is slacking, right? But what specifically happened here with this story? Because the $300 million thing is sort of old news at this point, right? Maybe this will get rid of the ads a little bit. Yeah. I think did that work? Okay. So it appears launch of Call of Duty Black Ops 7 hasn't been one to write home about for Microsoft and Activision. According to a new report from the game business, Black Ops 7 sales numbers are down compared to Battlefield 6 and last year's Call of Duty Black Ops 6. In the data provided to the outlet by GSD, Black Ops 7 sales, both physical and digital, are down 63% compared to Battlefield 6. Not great. Important to note, though, as they stress, obviously, it's important to note that Battlefield 6 isn't available on any subscription service, meaning that people need to buy the game if they want to play. So while the sales numbers for Battlefield 6 are higher, it's still probably that the overall player count for Call of Duty is actually higher, which is true. But that's why going year to year comparisons can be quite telling because it seems pretty clear that Black Ops 7 is not outperforming last year's Call of Duty game either by any stretch of the imagination. They continue. Sales are down compared to last year. Where things get a little dicey is when you look at the comparison to last year's release, Black Ops 7. Because remember, Black Ops 7 was also on a subscription service. It was on Game Pass. So you can't be like, oh, it was different because you had to buy. No. You could also get it through Game Pass, okay? According to the report, physical and digital sales are down over 50% compared to last year. Again, many can and will point to the game being available on the series on Xbox Game Pass for Ultimate and PC subscribers, but so was Black Ops 6. The market situation is the same. You could say more people have signed up for Game Pass, and so less are going to be buying it, but I don't think that that's necessarily like a win because it probably means people are paying $15 or $16 for PC Game Pass, and then they're not buying the $70 or $80 or $90 versions of Call of Duty. Despite all the numbers being down, Black Ops 7 was still the best-selling game in terms of units and revenue in Europe for the week ending November 16th, its launch week, and Battlefield 6, its main competitor right now, came in fourth in both units sold and overall revenue. But, I mean, there's not really much else launching in that particular window that would be appealing to Call of Duty fans. Let's see. Maybe if I do this. At the end of the day, it's not like Call of Duty is a dwindling franchise. This is still generating revenue for its developers and publishers. Still, it's interesting to see how far sales have fallen, and if it's simply a case of more people playing on Game Pass, or if there's really a drop-off of interest in the 22-year-old franchise. We've also paired this with other news and information. For example, it was revealed that, not really revealed, we saw that Arc Raiders on launch day of Call of Duty had more players or more viewers on Twitch. More viewers were interested in watching Arc Raiders than Call of Duty. And it also is interesting because there was an interesting little tidbit that I thought was very, very interesting. Browse. So here, oh dude, look at this. I didn't know this. So Arc Raiders is currently at 107,000. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is down at 38,000. That's way lower. That's way lower. Wow. Okay. Okay. That's way lower than I thought it would be. But if we go here, there's also apparently been a thing on Twitch where, like, if you play in parties or groupings, because they have this new collaboration feature on Twitch, it can actually end up combining and inflating view counts, which is also kind of funny. But you can see it's a lot of... Oh, I remember Aiden. Back in like OG Warzone era. That's funny. And then Arc Raiders, Shroud, Symphony, Nadeshot, Nick Merckx, Myth, Hutch, Boxy. Lot of big guys. So it seems like the market has largely spoken. Now, people who previously were like, "Oh, is this going to be year that Call of Duty flops?" No. Flopping is a term that has a specific definition, and Call of Duty is so freaking big that I don't think it will ever necessarily flop. I think it's one of those things that has to slowly fade and wither. You know, it's one of those games. Excuse me. It's one of those games that I think just year over year, like, the growth will start to slow. It'll start to plateau. Then it might start to drop. But it's not like it's going to launch and then it only sells 1 million copies. It's always going to sell stupid well. But I think player engagement will drop, and those types of metrics and stats will start to struggle. So I think it's not really a surprise. Call of Duty is, and has been for a long time, largely out of touch with a large portion of the fan base. Clearly they're in touch with the whales and the people spending a lot of money, which is why they are doing the events that they do and why they're selling the skins that they sell. But there is a huge subset of the audience which clearly they've lost touch with, and they don't know how to appeal to them. That campaign did not do it. The multiplayer is not doing it. The overall offering is just not doing it for players. And other games like Arc Raiders are coming along and are much more compelling for people. And you're seeing even for content creators, which I'm saying this as a an influencer, which I hate the term, but I'm saying this as an influencer. These companies, they care way too much what we think and what we do. And I'm telling you, the numbers, the engagement, the sales, that's all so-so. What's really probably causing panic is that they can't get the streamers to play their game. And the streamers that used to be COD streamers are going and trying games like Arc Raiders because they're so fed up with Call of Duty. Like, that's what's really causing panic. That's what's really freaking them out. Because the streamers bring with them the audience, free advertising. Whenever there's a new store drop, the streamer tries it, gets early access to it, makes a video, and then all of their audience goes and buys the same thing. That's when they actually start freaking out. And that's what's happening for Call of Duty. So it's not just a matter of like, oh, the sales are lower, because these games are, you know, they sell well, of course, but where they make the stupid money is in microtransactions, is in the cosmetics, is in the crossover skins and stuff like that. And if they don't have the built-in advertising mechanism for earned media that is streamers, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. So they need a major adjustment. I don't know what their plan is to fix it. Weirdly enough, I've seen a lot of people calling for like a return to gritty, grounded Call of Duty. People calling for them to go back to like Call of Duty World War II. No more Godzilla crossovers or anything, but just like World War II, Call of Duty. Pure and simple. High production value, nothing crazy, nothing insane, just good old school Call of Duty. I don't think they'll do that, but time will tell. I think also what would benefit them a lot is if they took like a year off and just took a breather. But I also don't think they're going to do that because, again, the whole thing right now is that Microsoft has set the expectation they need 30% margin on everything. And that's just not that easy to do. It's just not. It's not even the industry standard in the games industry. Like, it's just not. It's just not. Then they'll complain about the guns. Well, that's part of the thing, is that they've created a monster in the form of like the audience that is super twitchy, super sweaty, that loves the idea that the meta changes every 3 days, because then they can make new videos and streams about the new meta. Like, those people are not going to, like, I don't think they're helping you, you know? Like, did you ever see he's a way bigger streamer than me, so it's okay for me to pull this up because this was so funny. Okay. Do you guys know, I think this is the clip. Do you guys know this guy? FaZe Swag. Where is it muted? Just tell me if you feel like this reaction is totally earned and legit, or if maybe he's hamming it up a little.
They know we're here. Go out.
Wait. Is it Fiend? Oh my gosh, look at the way he's holding the character. And they're playing Fiend. COD is back.
These are the guys that are gonna like melt down. Okay, they're gonna melt down if you come and like have an update that's like a really gritty, grounded Call of Duty. It's maybe more in line with what people are expecting. I think if you're trying to give Swag what he wants, you're not going to get what that audience is. Like the core audience that's moved away from Call of Duty has moved away because they don't like the stuff Swag likes, that they don't like Swag. They don't like they just don't identify with this. So if you want to keep appealing to his audience, you're going to get his audience. But I think that's the problem, is that they can't survive just on his audience. They also need some of the other guys too.
Look at the reload.
Look at the reload. Isn't he like 35 too? Like, what are we doing, dude? What are we doing? No, he's 29. Bro, really? Is he 29 years old? There's no way he's 29. Is he 29? I don't know. Maybe he is. Oh. You look great. You look great. I mean, I'm just like, come on, man. Come on. COD is back. What are we doing?
Is it Fiend? Oh my gosh, look at the way he's holding the character. Playing Fiend. COD is back.
Man, I don't have the strength. I don't have the strength anymore. Oh man. But this is the content that COD has been built around, is like every day. It's like literally every day there is a new video on like a new weapon, a new gun, a new shiny something, a new loadout, all this stuff. Like, that's what these are built around. And at some point, like, you can keep grinding that out, or you got to shake it up. So yeah, to be clear, I was not the only one who found that to be cringe. It did go viral back when it first dropped, because people were like, it does not look that good. What are you talking about? Like, what are we doing? Oh man. Oh man. Heretic, thank you for the 5. They released the COD Zombies intro cutscene trailer for season 1 today. Oh, I was waiting for them to do that. Hawking, Jim, thank you for the 9 months. A request for you and Jacob, when the Ubisoft clip goes up, to title it "You Be Not So Soft Eggplant." I'll let Jacob decide. Slackosaurus Rex. Oh yeah, I read that one. Thank you again for the 5. That's generous. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Let's talk about this though. Let's talk about this. This is interesting. Okay, I want to hear the argument. Okay. So there's been a lot of debate in the last week or so since the Game of the Year awards nominations were revealed, and a lot of them center around what should define an indie game. There was, of course, the news of one of the developers of an indie game. He removed himself from consideration for a debut indie game because he had previously made games as a solo developer, and he felt that it wasn't right, so he withdrew his game from consideration. What was the name of that game? I'm blanking on the name of the game. Somebody in chat will say it. But it's a Megabonk. Thank you, Megabonk. So it was a topic of conversation. And there was an article that was submitted by one of you lovely folk over on our member and sub-only Discord. Shadow posted this. Apparently an indie studio supported by a small publisher isn't considered an indie, and submitted this article for me to look at on stream. It is from the one and only Kotaku, where they say there's just no way Clair Obscur Expedition 33 should be up for Indie Game Awards. The multi-million-dollar game has entered itself into multiple indie awards, which doesn't feel right. I will say, the term indie has gotten thrown around a lot, because I think, in my view, and please let me know in chat what your definition of indie would be, but in my view, an indie game is like a small independent studio. When I say small, I'm thinking like 50 or under in terms of employee count. Once you get above that, I start to think like AA. I think like, okay, you got some money behind you to be able to employ like 80 people. But I'm thinking like below 50 people, independent, so you're not owned by a major publisher. You could partner with a publisher to distribute your game. You don't need to just self-publish. But I think of specifically the size of the team and the budget that we're dealing with. That's typically what I think of. Arcray, thank you for the 2. Thank you. That's what I think of, at least. A studio not backed by a larger publisher. The question is, here was not indie, but debut. People seem to miss that. Back with the Megabonk thing. Yeah, absolutely. This, though, is specifically over the topic of being indie or not. The perennial discussion of what constitutes an indie game is both tired and tiring. It's a term that, in the end, no longer means anything at all. And as such, the fights over what is allowed to call itself one are mostly futile. It's best left alone. But then, along come the annual awards, reserved specifically for whatever an indie game actually is. And suddenly, the whole contentious topic is thrown into a harsh light, along with which comes a realization. You may not be able to say what an indie game is, but you can sure say what it isn't. And that would include a multi-million-dollar game made by hundreds of people. And this is a common thing that's come up with Expedition 33 a number of times. There are some false narratives or misconceptions, maybe is more appropriate, around Expedition 33. For example, the narrative started going around that this was a studio made up of just 33 developers that were former Ubisoft developers that left, and they wanted to make this game at Ubisoft, but Ubisoft, were crushing their creativity, so they left, made their own studio, and did this. It's a good story. Sort of, like, pieces of it are true. It is a small studio, but only like 2 or 3 of the developers ever worked at Ubisoft. It was like the founder, I believe, technical director, I want to say. He was also working, ironically enough, he worked at Ubisoft at the studio that is currently still working on Beyond Good and Evil 2. So he has some connection to that game, which people don't even know if it exists anymore. But there were like a few of them worked at Ubisoft, but most of the team that made this had no connection to video games before this. They were fresh out of school, or they were modders. They did not have a lot of exposure to Ubisoft or the games industry or anything. So like that narrative's not quite true. And one of the other pieces that's been built up is that it was just 33 people that put together this thing that competes against AAA studios in tons of different ways. It's not quite accurate, as I'm thinking they're going to break down because it was a little bit more involved than that. So, yeah, yesterday the Excellent Indie Game Awards announced their list of finalists. It's a fantastic ceremony that not only champions the very best indies in gaming, but also shines a light on minority developers, highlights the work of solo devs, and pushes for greater accessibility in video games. It's also now in the awkward situation of having a grand prize category that is pitching the 5-person created Consume Me against the behemoth of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So yeah, we're having that argument again. And this is the difficulty where it's like a studio of 5 people competing against like Hades 2 or Silk Song or Expedition 33. I'd say all of these are very tough to compete against, certainly, but that's just the nature of the beast. What is an indie game would be, it's an independent game, a game without a publisher. And for a while, that was certainly what it's meant to be, but not anymore. The thing is, nowadays, I don't think publisher, I think a lot of people would think it's without an owner. Like, you're not part of a larger organization. You're an independent studio. Maybe they mean publisher, but for years and years and years, if you were an indie studio, you still needed a publisher to distribute your games, especially globally. But I also feel like there's an insinuation of size and scope, you know, that you're not a big studio. In the music industry in the 1990s, indie irreversibly went from meaning an album or single not published by a major record label to a genre of music. So-called independent labels grew enormously successful from their bands becoming mainstream, and many were bought up by the big 5 at the time. Majors, while listening audiences didn't care one iota about any of it. They just liked the music, and as a result, indie music went from a distinction to a vibe. Almost the same process has occurred in video games, albeit 20 years later. That's a really good distinction and way of or connection. It's good connection, because it is a very similar vibe where it used to be like 5 people sitting in a basement building something together, but now it's like, it's just not AAA, man. It's not big, you know. I certainly get that. There was a brief window in the late 2000s when indie games were very definitively a specific thing. Digital publishing suddenly made it possible to distribute a game without going to or through a publisher. A better development tools meant small teams or individuals were able to create impressive games. But when I name an excellent example of such an indie game, you might detect the beginnings of the problem. Minecraft. As indie gaming became a phenomenon, publishers sprung up and swooped in. There was a lot of money in those hills. Those Thar hills is the proper way of saying it. And there were people who could help solo and small teams find the finances they need to get games across the finish line, as well as hooking them up with distribution to digital stores, marketing, and PR. The games were still being created the same way by the same numbers of people with the same vibes, but so often now had a very not independent structure around them. At the same time, others just uploaded their scrappy project to Steam and hoped, and a few caught fire. Went massive, got rich. They were all received as indie games, and oftentimes the genuinely independent developers would then become the publishers for the next generation, using their recent successes, contacts, and finances to try and provide similar opportunities for others. They'd push on those heavy doors and now wanted to hold it open for others, which is brilliant, but it also helped the term indie make less and less sense. I'm sensing that the frustration is going to basically come down to the vibe outlined at the very, very start, which is that you have a team of 5 people competing against a team of 33 plus a lot of like many millions of dollars to go and hire contracted work and other people to help, or a game like Silk Song, which had basically an open blank check from all sorts of different groups who would want to fund the development of the game, let them work on it as long as they wanted to. And that just feels bad. It feels like they're not in the same category, which is true. But I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. If you're like, yeah, it's an indie company. Your indie company is tiny. Mine is massive, but it's still independent. You know, like Robert Space Industries, the guys behind Star Citizen, they are technically independent. They've raised close to $900 million, but they are technically independent. They have more employees than most AAA development studios, but they're technically an indie studio because they're not connected to anything else and they're totally independent. So it's like, that's why I feel when I think indie, I'm thinking that there's a certain budget or employee count limitation, you know? Yeah, Larian is also independent, exactly. But would the average person call Larian like an indie studio? Probably not. Probably not. Yep, you could argue Silksong's budget was in the hundreds of millions, but we have no way to know. I mean, I don't think it's in the hundreds of millions. I think it because the teams just isn't that big. Silksong at least is a tiny studio. Hades is the developers at Supergiant. I think they're also not that big either. But the point is, like, they are independent, but I think at some point there should be a cutoff, at least in terms of sentiment. You know, a lot of people call Larian indie. Yeah, well, I feel Larian is more indie in vibe than like Robert Space Industry is with Star Citizen after raising close to $1 billion. But I think that's like part of the point is that indie has sort of become a vibe, and the definition is really loose. Because if it's literally just an independent studio, you have to include like Robert Space Industries, which just feels off. It feels strange to do that. And so that like gut vibe suggests maybe there should be another tidbit, another asterisk next to it, you know, like tiny indie game, tiny indie studio of less than 50 people. Maybe that's a category. I don't know if that's even worth it, you know. Continuing on, as I said at the start, for the majority of the time, this is all semantics. But for the average person playing games, it just isn't important. Yes, you might care, but I said the average person. Whether the roguelike deck builder RPG you're playing was made by a team of 2 or a team of 200 matters very little when you're sitting on your couch having a great time. It's very true. But that distinction, that ambiguity of the term does suddenly start to matter very much when it comes to handing out awards. True, especially when those awards bring with them acolytes, opportunities, business opportunities, all of that. No, I totally agree. Rewards and award ceremonies are generally a bane on existence, where the already most successful products get given prizes for having already succeeded, while incredible achievements that went unrecognized remain just as obscure. It sucks. I hate to destroy them all, but when it comes to indie game awards, I have a different perspective, because at their very best, they can bring unknown games alongside the year's breakout successes, the latter helping bring eyes to the former. Events like IGFS at GDC, the IGAs, do wonders for bringing attention to those who have so far gone unnoticed, pushing tiny, peculiar games into the limelight. This not only benefits those games, their developers, and the people who end up enjoying them, but also wider gaming itself, as their oddities and nuances influence others and expand people's scope for what games can be. It's all brilliant, unless of course a multi-million-dollar game sneaks its way in on a technicality that pushes less known games out of the way, which I think is true. Clair Obscur Expedition, here's where we get into the nitty-gritty. Clair Obscur Expedition 33's budget is not certain, but various informed estimates put it between $15 and $25 million, likely towards the higher end. While the core team at Sandfall is relatively small, 30 to 40 people, I believe the official number is 33 and a dog. It was a game whose leadership hired literally hundreds of contractors to work on it too. And I do not believe that anyone who is applying reasonable thought could consider this to be what is understood as an indie game. I do think it starts to feel weird when you have a team of 33, which does pass the indie vibe check, but then you find out that they also hired 300 people to help. And then you're like, yeah, that feels weird. It's like if you say, yeah, I'm a startup indie artist, you know, startup. But then you find out that like your best friend's dad is actually a record producer and has worked with like Justin Bieber, and you got to record your album in his recording studio and he helped produce it. It's like, you technically are independent. You are not signed with anybody, but you got access to a tool that no one else has who's independent, you know? It starts to feel weird. And this was why initially when Expedition 33 came out, there was a lot of discourse around like, again, the narrative was good. The story of 33 people left Ubisoft, made this game, and it's amazing. That story was so good that it just started to carry and spread through social media. But it wasn't actually true. It's like, yeah, it's 30 people. Like 3 of them were from Ubisoft. Most of them are new to gaming. And they had a lot of money because they did present this amazing idea, these great prototypes to the publisher, Kepler, and they said, we need some money to get it across the finish line. They got lots of money because they had a lot of confidence in the project and faith in the project, knowing that it was going to be great because it looked great and clearly there was a lot of potential there. So they gave them tons of money to hire contractors to build it out and accomplish this. And it worked out great, but looking just at like the 33 developers is probably not indicative, you know, of what actually happened. There used to be a widely accepted term for games like this, AA. AA games were those that essentially fell in the middle between an indie game, as it's understood, and a AAA big budget game published by the likes of Ubisoft, EA, or Activision. Again, there's no sharply defined line to be drawn in the sand, but it sure didn't, or should help to have the AA category there to stop games that cost less than $300 million from claiming to be indie. Expedition 33 is the platonic AA game. It had a multi-million-dollar budget and a core team counted in 10s and not 1s, but wasn't on the scale of some of the big name rivals. And there I'm being fairly generous, given that the number of names on the credits absolutely does match that of plenty of EA games, especially when you count specifically when you count the contractors. And this, I don't know how many contractors worked on like KCD2, but it may actually be the case that like more individual people touched Expedition 33 when you count the contractors than touched KCD2, which would be crazy. So then, given all this, how on earth does a game like Expedition 33 end up appearing in Indie Game Awards? Well, to give the quick answer, it's by entering itself on a technicality and hoping to get away with it. But for a more complicated answer, I reached out to organizations, the organizations of the IGAs, I can't read, organizers of the IGAs, to find out more from them. As you might suspect, says Mike Towndrow, creative director and at organizers for 601 Indie Showcase, quote, "It's been an ongoing and sometimes painful, haha, conversation with the curation jury since launch." And basically, like, I think with all this, it's tricky because games like Expedition 33, people agree, deserve celebration and deserve laudation and prizes and awards and everything. But if it means that they, with a big budget and with lots of developers, are taking recognition away from some of those smaller teams that didn't have all of those benefits and assets, then what's the point of the Indie Award? Because it basically just becomes AA awards. Because what one of those smaller games is going to beat Expedition 33 or Hades 2, like, or Silk Song? Like, probably nothing. Even though each of those games probably fits more into that like AA category. Some people in the comments try to counter. Your argument focuses on size and available resources, which I think is an argument that's played out again and again in other media, but distracts from the bigger issue. Expedition 33's independence is what allows the game to succeed as it does creatively, from the setting to the story to the art to the music. Some of its odd mechanics, very little about this game would have survived the traditional risk-averse AAA system. It walks and talks like a AAA game, but its bleeding heart is indie. I do think that this is a genuinely interesting point, because it's basically like, yeah, resources are great, money's great, but it's the creative freedom that you get by being independent that is the spirit of the award. The money helps. The money certainly helps, but the creative spirit is what carries forward and is what you're ultimately awarding. And I love that vibe, and I love that point. But I don't think you can just wholeheartedly ignore the budget and production benefits, you know, because I as much as I love the idea that it is all about ideas, it's also about having the time and resources to let the devs build and finish what you want them to do. You know, that's I think the key part. So I agree with the vibe of the question, or of the counter, where it's that the independent award is specifically targeting like the creative freedom and independence, but I don't think you can just ignore the ignore the budget side of it. I think you answer your own question in the post. Expedition 33 shows one way to make indie games. It's a rare way, it's kind of a miracle, but it is a way. Most indie games are made in other ways, and so other categories exist to honor and reward games made in those ways. But to deny Expedition 33 its indie honors because the team should have had to struggle more is to unnecessarily exclude types of independent development and certain creative styles, which I'd argue is actually more against the spirit of indie development than, say, the capital they raised. I mean, I think all of this really at the end of the day is that the author of this article is frustrated that this independent studio, which is what they are, went and raised a bunch of money to go and build a bigger independent game than they would have been able to make otherwise. By doing that, they then enter into a separate category, which most commonly is referred to as AA, and they think that there should not be, if you're AA, you're not indie, so you shouldn't be able to win indie awards. Difficulty being, you have to have some sort of guideline, some sort of standard to be able to say that, like, when you have a budget over 10 million, you're no longer indie. And that would be like a moving goalpost, because over time with inflation, that would have to shift and change. Like, does that change based on where you are in the world? Because in certain areas of the world, 10 million goes a lot farther or a lot shorter, you know? But I think everybody is sort of right here. Would I call Expedition 33 a classical, typical indie game? No, because it did have tens of millions of dollars behind it, most likely, with hundreds of contracted workers helping make it happen. That certainly helps. Certainly helps. I think that commenter is right that the creative spirit, being independent, allowed them to do things you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise if you were in a more traditional format, and that also deserves recognition and praise, but that still puts it in that AA category. Ultimate solution, and what I'd be happy with, is to just have a AA category, AA award show, if you could even do that. But I think if you do something like that, that goes a lot farther. Otherwise, you end up with, I think it was it Lies of P? I think it was, that was also nominated for Indie Game of the Year, even though, like, Lies of P was not an indie game at all. Like, not even close, but it was nominated for Indie Game of the Year at the Game Awards. I believe that was right. I think you gotta split it. Gotta split it off. Okay. I want to touch on this because this is also something that came out in the earnings call. You ready for this? Oh, I should catch up on these. Christopher, thank you for the 5. It's the same for movies. Indie films always have to compete against A24 live action adaptation of Death Stranding, which will be an indie film. Yeah, well, I mean, it's that the categories get so blurred, but you can break it down into another category, which I think would help, but then it's also just like when you stop breaking it down and it has to constantly move and shift, and yeah. But I think split it. Okay. Let me touch on this. Okay. So we know that Ubisoft executives are full of grounded takes. They don't say or commit to really stupid things impulsively. They don't just chase trends. They are grounded and in touch with their audience and community. I forgot. We don't know that because that's not true. All of what I just said is the opposite. Ubisoft is known for all of that. Trend chasing, whatever the current hype thing is, whether it's NFTs, AI, whatever, they're going to jump on it because that's just what they do. Just what they do. Well, I'm sad to say there is another example of this that was just revealed in the earnings call that dropped this morning, where they also revealed that apparently AC Shadows outperformed their own internal expectations. People can freak out about that, whatever. I don't care. Cancel me. I don't care. But this is what we're talking about in this segment. Ubisoft boss believes generative AI is as big a revolution for games as the shift to 3D, as tech is embraced company-wide. Let's see. Let's see what he has to say. Okay. Guillemot, via GameFile, spent a short but explosive minute near the start of the recent earnings call to speak on generative AI in particular, which appears to be taking a larger role in Ubisoft's works moving forward. Okay. He stated, quote, "We are making great strides in applying generative AI to high-value use cases that bring tangible benefits to players and teams. It's as big of a revolution as for our industry as the shift to 3D, and we have everything to lead on this front." Guimont continued, "On the player experience side, we are continuing to make progress on groundbreaking player-facing generative AI applications, building on our Neo NPC announcements in 2024. We have already advanced from prototyping to player reality, and we are looking forward to sharing more before the end of the year." So by the end of the year, they're going to have announcements for some of their AI stuff. This NPC, Neo NPC thing, if you recall this, I don't know if you remember this, but basically, this is sort of what we've seen with like NVIDIA. They did a demo of this too, but what they're trying to do is build NPCs that use LLMs to react to actual conversational prompts and stuff. So for example, characters are programmed to react to player prompts in certain ways or not react depending on their personalities. It's garbage in, garbage out, as they describe in traditional game making. But as you can see, it's also magic in, magic out. When the player creates their own scenario and it all clicks, that's an incredible experience. There's other guardrails in place. The team has put filters in place to catch toxicity and inappropriate inputs from the player. We made a distinction between player antagonizing the NPC and insulting them so we can properly scope what is toxic. I'm just warning you. I'm warning you, Ubisoft. This is all going to be toxic, okay? When you put this in a game and allow us to have conversations with NPCs, it's immediately going to be the most toxic thing you can possibly imagine. There is no freaking way. No way it's anything else, okay? But, yeah, you can see in this demo that it's like, speak to Bloom, the character, make him happy, get closer to him, learn about the Megacorp, ask about the Resistance, learn about fellow Resistance members, find out about Bloom's past. And they want to open this up so that you can have a conversation with an NPC. My frustration is that Ubisoft, in the last decade, their writing quality has plummeted. And personally, I'm not that excited at the idea of replacing writers who already were not that great with LLMs that are trained on probably those same writers' inputs and prompts. I think the quality of the writing is just going to continue to nosedive. So this is not exciting to me personally. Not that thrilling. Not that exciting, but this is where they think the frontier is, the next future update. Finally, Guillemot stated that Ubisoft's embrace of AI goes beyond dedicated AI projects and that AI use has already been integrated into every development team across all of their offices. He explained, quote, "On the production side, we now have teams in all of our studios and offices embracing this new technology and constantly exploring new use cases in programming, art, and overall game quality." Notably, Anno 117, there was a bit of a scandal where they had, I believe it was just one, I could be wrong about that, but I believe it was just one. There was a load screen piece of artwork that was AI generated, and they came out and said after it was caught that it was left in by mistake. They meant to go back in and swap it out with a handmade thing. It was like a placeholder during development. Who knows? But we know that they are using it in their art departments as well. Who knows what other kind of stuff they're using, but that's what they're doing. So far, the publicly shown results of Ubisoft's venture into the wild world of generative AI resulted in prototype versions of aforementioned Neo NPCs, which Eurogamer's own Chris Tapsell experienced firsthand. He described, excuse me. He described the tech as, quote, a tool that's been built first on the notion that if we build it, someone clever will surely come along and make use of it. There's an argument to say that somewhat back to front, the best tools are solutions to problems those clever people already have. Perhaps we'll see how this tech is actually used soon. This is one of those things where AI in general, to me, a lot of these tools seem like hammers in search of a nail. And, you know, they're building all these hammers because they're like, yeah, we're definitely going to have nails, so we need these for, but they're not very good hammers and they don't really work that well for what they're trying to do. But they're spending a crap ton of money on these like inflatable hammers that don't really do a whole lot. Guillemot previously stated that generative AI was, quote, just another technology to be tested, but fast forward to this current era of AI bullishness, it appears he's gripped this AI tech with both hands. Even so, Ubisoft recently apologized to Anno 117 Pax Romana players for the accidental inclusion of an AI loading screen in the release version of the game. Perhaps the AI-focused Ubisoft has some hurdles to overcome as it adopts this new technology. I think they're going to continue doing it, but bear in mind, like 3 years ago, Yves Guillemot was saying that they were still very bullish on their investments in NFTs. So when he says that he's like really into AI and that's like the next big thing, take it with a grain of salt, you know? Because literally whenever any little bitty trend comes, anything at all, they're all over it. Because they're so desperate to like get investors excited that they will just chase down anything and everything that they think investors will connect to. For a while, again, it's crazy to think of now, but for a while it was NFTs. Back in 2021, people were saying NFTs were the future of crypto. It was like the future of blockchain, Web3, whatever the crap. And so all of these companies were pushing it and it was going to be the next big thing. It collapsed and burned down in a fire. And all that money was wasted. But now the next big thing is AI. Whether it crashes down and burns like NFTs remains to be seen. Probably not, considering the trillions being spent on it. But it doesn't mean that the Ubisoft executive team are not going to try and chase it down themselves either. Realistically, where I think that this is probably being used, it's probably being used in like regular tools for data analysis. It's probably also being used in writing. Let's just be honest with ourselves. I'm guessing they're probably using it to write like NPC dialogue and stuff, which is gonna suck. If you work at Ubisoft and that's true, scream, shout, go and like talk to someone. Because if it's leaked that like the next Assassin's Creed is being written with AI tools and like ChatGPT wrote the dialogue, like leak that maybe, or maybe don't. I'm not your dad. But like if that story breaks, there will be a meltdown that will change the world. Okay, like people will not be okay with it, and maybe they will address it and retcon it and go hire actual writers and redo it. That's the hope, at least, right? But I'm guessing they're using stuff like that. I think that they're probably also experimenting with AI or with generative AI tools for like modeling 3D items, which are tools that now already exist, using it to generate textures for building out games and stuff like that. That's far less noticeable or potentially even problematic for some people. But I think that they're going to just continue to try to make it widespread. That's my guess. So yeah, I can't say I'm surprised. If anything, I'm surprised that it didn't happen sooner, considering their trend chasing tendencies. But here we are nonetheless. So there you go. Ubisoft chasing down that sweet, sweet AI hype. We'll see if it works. But I swear to God, if we get the Black Flag remake and we start finding a bunch of like AI generated crap in it, I'm going to have a meltdown. I'm gonna cry. Okay. I will eat mac and cheese with a fork. I'll be so upset. Okay. Get ready. It's gonna happen. If it happens, that's what will happen. Okay. Trust. Oh my God. Oh man. Anyway. Get a spork, dude. I don't even know where you could buy a spork. Where do you even buy a spork nowadays? I don't even know. Can you even buy one? I don't even know what you do with a spork. Anyway. Walmart. Does Walmart have sporks? Walmart have sporks? Popeyes has sporks? Oh. I feel like KFC had sporks for a while. Maybe they still do. Guys who use sporks are fence sitters. You guys just have no confidence. You're not taking a stand. Take a stand. Man. Oh, dude. I didn't realize how hungry I am. But I started talking about sporks, and then I thought of KFC, and then my stomach was like, that sounds great. I sound like Romeo. Okay. Can you guys hear my stomach? That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Anyway. Well, fam. I think I'm going to call it there. I've got to go and I'm going to take Romeo on a walk. It's like pretty dreary outside, so I don't think he's going to get out to like run around much today. So I'm going to go take him on a walk. I'll be back rocking and rolling on Monday. We should have a little bit more. My voice should be fully recovered because I'm still on antibiotics and everything. But I should be back. We're going to have a great streaming week next week. It's going to be a good time. People are going to be on vacation, traveling and stuff for Thanksgiving here in the States. But even if you're not traveling for that, we're going to be rocking and rolling here. I think what we're going to do also after Thanksgiving, I think I'm going to get a Christmas tree and we're going to put it up right there. Maybe we do a stream where like we decorate the Christmas tree with all sorts of random cutouts of Todd Howard. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I don't know. Either way, have a fantastic rest of your day and fantastic weekend. We'll be back next week for the Thanksgiving festivities. And I can't wait to see you then. Maybe we'll play some games too. But with that, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Love you all desperately. And I'll see you in the next one, okay? Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.